The initial 2 years of settlement within Sundersweep were eventful, to say the least. As the shifting seasons roll across the hopeful plains, they bring about more than just changes in weather and crops. They bring with them events that set themselves like dominoes on a board, each event falling into the next, influencing and sometimes dictating the direction of the subsequent pieces. And the year 102 was a year where many pieces fell into their place. As the metalsmithing industry was yet to be set up within the fortress, James spent his time in the new library, reading the various books brought in by migrants and travelling poets. During the year's stock audit, James reported that prepared meals were being stolen on a regular basis. Wheels blamed the abundance of naked mole dogs that patrolled the region, citing that their numbers were increasing rapidly year on year. Wheels had taken a well-earned sabbatical after healing Smog's injuries, and now most of his time was spent as tavern keep in the public bar, known as the Tav. He enjoys the abundance of fish soup and telling tall tales, regaling his audience with stories of felled dragons, girlfriends in other cities, and dads who work at Nintendo. Bea and Alex, equipped with new weapons traded from nearby civilizations, were kept busy guarding the coffers, bringing any nearby naked mole dogs to justice. Hex's various skills increased as he kept busy, and was now recognised amongst his peers as a Grand Master Miner and Master Planter. Though the work brought him joy, he found himself becoming too busy to spend much time with his peers at all. Lockie constructed himself a humble wooden fishing shack built entirely from the willow trees that hung lazily by the brook. He continued to supply the fort with an abundance of fresh fish, and a hefty helping of humility. And after making a mostly full recovery from his injury, Smog returned to work housing and caring for his bees. Just so many bees. In fact, Smog now holds 324,660 bees within his 20 hives, and he claims to have named each and every one of them. As the members of the fortress reluctantly served themselves to yet another helping of honeyed trout, a new visitor rounded the hills. Asno Uraruxos, the goblin poet, made their way towards the fortress, strutting with a purpose to the inn. Wheels, the tavern keep, cautiously handed the surprisingly upbeat and calm Asno a drink, as his mind wandered to the 3 graves standing just outside the fortress walls. Asno, apparently unaware of Sundersweep's recent history with goblins, sat in the bar socialising with a few fellow travellers and poets. As the beer and stories flowed freely, Wheels inquired about their reason for visiting. Asno mentioned that they were looking for their uncle, Bosa, who went missing last winter while looking for work. With the goblin blood on his new steel mace barely dry, Alex Buchanan was struck with a wave of inspiration and motivation. The recent battles stoked a burning desire to create an artifact fit for the gods. He frantically darted around the fortress, ferrying materials to the carpenter's workshop, where he set to work on a mysterious construction. And so, as the fortress residents surrounded Alex's workshop, holding their breath in anticipation for a glimpse into the divine, there, in those halls, was birthed Dastot Dacost, the willow crutch, decorated with more willow. To commemorate the strength of heart and character shown by Smog McPhinney as he recovered from his injuries, Alex created a wooden crutch worthy of artifact status. Alex, as well as being a well-disciplined professional hammer dwarf, was now a legendary carpenter, which is fitting with him being the fortress's hammerer, as to him, every problem looked like a nail anyway. As the sun set on autumn season, the fortress was awoken by a reverberating clang of the council bells being struck. Thob drilled labours called an emergency meeting to declare herself, without consultation, to be the new queen of the humble portals. Unaware of the intricacies of dwarven monarchical politics, the citizens of Sundersweep simply accepted Thob as their queen and asked of her demands. Seemingly caught off guard and surprised by the lack of opposition, Queen Thob demanded a trade ban on rings and to have her chambers constructed post-haste. The citizens set to work carving out the Queen's quarters and changing nothing about their current trade policy, as their fortress was yet to produce even a single ring. Before the citizens had barely finished putting the last piece of furniture down into the royal quarters, the fortress was beset again by goblins. This time masquerading as a travelling band. Unnerved by the frequency of goblin visitors, their seemingly friendly artistic nature, and the fact that they were almost always part of a multiracial troupe containing humans and dwarves, the citizens of Sundersweep were facing a moral quandary. Could their beliefs about goblins be wrong? Could the stories of goblin treachery, deceit and murder be part of an anti-goblin propaganda regime? Were they being lied to by the government of the humble portals? Confused and frightened, the citizens ran to their queen, their new leader and beacon of hope, and asked her for guidance. Queen Thob sat in her vast, newly built throne room, deep in thought, before proclaiming to her loyal subjects,
"Produce for me 1 ring."
Baffled by the response but unable to protest, a bone crafter was summoned to create a ring from the finest naked moldog bones that they could procure. Seemingly satisfied with the offer, the queen simply went back to cleaning fish. It seemed like this moral quandary would be left in the very capable hands of Sundersweep's dwarven justice system. The visiting troupe consisted of 3 members: Zaspgask Snebguzud, the goblin poet, Pum Bestioko, the human poet, and Nil Rakaskukeb, the dwarven dancer. Nil, the dancer, stood out from the troupe. Not because they were the sole dancer, but because they were adorned with the most magnificent pair of bone pants the citizens of Sundersweep had ever seen. "Why yes," Nil proclaimed. "These leggings are known across the lands as Bun Sothzolak, the finest bone leggings in all of Ex-Moxbuzong. Encrusted with rare gems and adorned with elk bird antlers, you'll find no pair that matches its beauty." "And which creature's bones are they made from?" asked a member of the transfixed crowd. "Oh, can't you see? Why, human, of course." A stunned silence fell over the tavern before a penny dropped for Deputy Alex Buchanan. "Goblin thieves are here for my crutch!" "Get him, Graham!" The battle was ferocious and chaotic, and entirely one-sided, as it was armed professional combatants versus a couple of poets with nice pants on. Pants which are now displayed triumphantly within the Queen's public chamber, alongside Dastot Dacoste. Sheriff B, unarmed and unprepared for the attack, showed an aggressive level of bestial ferocity in the defense of Sundersweep's artifact. His recording of the event included an unnecessarily long and detailed log of repeated punches to the goblin's head, even after they were knocked unconscious, which was only interrupted when B's mind was cast back to a recent performance he saw at the tavern, which brought him some delight. B's patented battle tactic of biting also saw some action, with B reportedly biting Nil the dwarf's shoulder, latching on tightly, and like a dog with a stuffed toy, proceeded to shake Nil's arm until there was no longer any more shoulder to bite into. Seemingly horrified by his own actions, B entered a state of panic, frantically withdrawing from the battle. In his mania, he fell down several flights of stairs, only being interrupted by the flitting memory of a visiting bard reciting the poem "The Sun Sets on Butters." And just like that, the final piece of the year 102 was played, each piece delicately and precisely placed, awaiting the event that triggers the grand cascade.